I be side on niggas who 30 plus with no kids. You know what I'm saying? And this don't apply to the niggas who like lost their childhood due to going to the pen and shit like that, had to do 12, 15, they missed out on their 20s and shit. But if you 30 plus and you been in the motherfucking free world and you have no kids, not even one, like you ain't even got one on the way, I'm just, what you mean you ain't got no? Is you know what I'm saying? And if you is, hey, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? I respect it. That's you. That's your business. But like you've been in the free world all this time, but that ain't never once crossed your mind. Let me start a family. Let me have a little one. Okay. I don't want to hear you niggas get in my comment talking about some. I have self discipline, so I know how to wear a condom. I'm not where I want to be in life, so why would I bring a child into this world? The perks of me not having kids is I get to save all my money and keep all my money to myself. Get your old ass on, nigga. You scared of responsibility, making excuses and shit. Benjamin Button, dick having ass, nigga. I be sorry.
One of the dumbest takes I've heard in a while. Right? I think that's fair to say. This is dumb. One of the dumbest takes I've heard in a while. That we're trying to create this culture of where we're shaming men for not having children, for navigating life and making, choices with discernment. They're carefully deciding what I want to do. I think one of the silliest things you can do, one of the most challenging things you can do is have a child before you're ready. Financially, just saying financially in that sense, right? Forget obviously emotionally, spiritually. That's just it's wrought with more and more difficulty. But before you're financially able to have a child, before you're financially responsible enough to have a child, bring a child into this world where you cannot financially take care of it. That's irresponsible. That's the definition of irresponsible to me. But when you have young men like this coming on here and espousing things that absolutely don't make any sense, right? They don't survive a shred of observation. And things like this, usually you hear that it's in an active defense of I've already done these things. So I'm gonna make it seem like it's silly that you haven't. That something must be wrong for you because you're not doing what I did. I may understand and I may see that it's wrong, but I'm gonna convince myself otherwise where it has to be correct. This has to be the right thing that's going on because therefore I couldn't be wrong. Right? I couldn't be counted amongst the people that got things wrong, that weren't deciding that where they wanted to be before they had a kid, deciding that this is not for me, so I'm going to take my time. I'm going to be careful not to make the mistakes that would be mistakes for the rest of my life, that would affect the next generation. So responsible men are somehow lame or Benjamin Button. It's a ridiculous thing. It's a ridiculous form of I can't even call it logic. It's a ridiculous way to argue. But listen, let's run this back. There's things that I think we can extract, things that we can learn from it. But as always, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell just in case YouTube turns off your notifications. It does that from time to time. Don't ask me why. Ask this guy. He might have a better answer than I do. But we had a similar video. Um, I think maybe two times, and one was very early on where there were two men on a podcast and a younger black woman, and they were trying to make it seem also the same way where it was weird that a man would be 30 plus, not have at least one kid, and the two male hosts made it seem like yeah, it's like one guy likened it to having credit, and it was a ridiculous take. It was an absolute foolish take, and when they often say they should make podcast equipment expensive. Not that expensive, please. Um, it's because all our voices are heard, right? Without any type of filter, without any type of discernment, outside of what the platforms allow and what they sort of want you to propagate. Everyone's opinion has a chance to be heard, not even equally. Some things rise above others. Some voices rise above others. Some topics hit at certain times. Something like this, right, can get pushed further and further out, where other people hear it, think about it, and think this is a good idea. This makes sense, right? Because you say something passionately, because you say something in a way that evokes some sort of emotional response to people. You think this makes sense. You may think this makes sense. And again, I would think that it's from the point of view of someone that did not do things in the right order, wants to make you feel as if there's something wrong with you. Specifically at the end, the way whenever I see someone make a point online and then say if you don't agree, and then continue to slander you in some sort of fashion, some sort of sense. I think that's very telling that you know your argument won't survive, won't hold water. So this is what it becomes a very convenient thing to say. Dude, if you don't agree with me, I don't care. If you don't agree with me, you're X, Y, and Z. I think you know when your argument's already cooked before it even comes out your mouth. That's why we hear things like this. Let's play this one back though.
lot on niggas who 30 plus with no kids. You know what I'm saying? And this don't apply to the niggas who like lost their childhood due to going to the pen and shit like that, had to do 12, 15, they missed out on their 20s and shit. But if you 30 plus and you been in the motherfucking free world and you have no kids, not even one, like you ain't even got one on the way, I'm just, what you mean you ain't got no? Is you know what I'm saying? And if you is, hey, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? I respect it. That's you. That's your business. But like you've been in the free world all this time, but that ain't never once crossed your mind. Let me start a family. Let me have a.
Of course, it crosses your mind. Of course, it does. Crosses your mind every day. But I don't want to do it in a fashion where I can't create something long lasting. I don't want to do it in a fashion where I create more pain and hurt for myself and others and other people involved. It, that that's a very simple thing to understand. That's not a thing that I think requires a ton of maturity. Right? And I say maturity because sometimes I can, at least for me, I look and I learn and try to discern and say when I see the way people talk, I see the way people refer to themselves, refer to other black people with their word choice, it already puts you on a lower sort of tier for me. When you're talking about people who've been in a pen, it already puts you in a lower tier for me. If that's your frame of reference, okay, it's fine. It's not a dig towards your life, but you're not the type of person I would ever take real advice from on something like this. And I think this is more to the point when men are saying, these are the type of women that these are the type of men that women might find more attractive than the stable guy. This frame of reference, this way of thinking may not be something you find amongst stable men or men that are trying to make themselves better or rise above, the average that want to be the movers and shakers and the people to break generation curses in their family. This type of behavior that he's exhibiting, that he's saying that men should be shamed for not doing, is a generational curse. You see the outcomes of many single parent homes repeat themselves generation to generation, generation. The same traumas seem to be passed down to the point where you think it's wholly on a genetic sort of sense. But the internet is again rife with examples of mothers and daughters going at it, fathers and sons going at it, or father not being there at all, and that sort of affecting the son further and further, further down the line. When we can't acknowledge these things, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. When we simply create a narrative that we think is clever, that makes sense, and then shame anyone that doesn't agree with it at the end, and basically drop the mic, upload the video, we're also doing ourselves a huge disservice. I think points of view need to survive scrutiny, like in real time, often, right? They need to survive actual scrutiny, not emotions going back and forth and playing back and forth. Like young men like this need to have a mentor before it's too late when you already make that choice where you have a family to take care of, and if you got one woman pregnant, it's easy to get two. We see how many times this happens. It seems that the Pookies and the Ray Rays, and they seem to have an easier time getting women, but an even easier time breaking up homes. But listen, if you think I missed something, let me know down in the comments. If you see videos on your screen, take a look at those. Let me know what you think about those as well. Of course, if you haven't subscribed, even after hearing the sound of my voice for nearly 10 minutes, you're killing me. I'll see you in the next one.